Hello everyone, welcome back. Today, title update 18.3 dropped, which saw a ton of fixes come to the game and some really important ones like the double companion bug, so that's really good news. Now, included within the update were some changes in the descent mode. Notably, nemesis damage was reduced by 10% in solos, and global directives no longer give you experience. Now, has this made descent any better? Well, today I want to talk about why so many players have barely touched descent and what more Massive could do here to make the experience better. Drop a like and subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. Make sure notifications are turned on as well, and let's get into it. I think it's fair to say that descent hasn't really been successful, as in most of the comments that I see are fairly negative, and this would actually match the recent poll that I put out where 60% of players who took part have only played descent once and then they've never played it again. Even content creators who play the Division for a job or play the Division a lot, basically, they're not even playing descent. And whilst I don't think descent is really bad, I wouldn't be playing descent myself if it wasn't for the weekly comms that you get for beating Nemesis. And there are many reasons why players are just not happy with descent, but just to name a few of the biggest reasons that we have, to start with, we have rewards, or lack of rewards, shall I say. This is perhaps the biggest reason why people are not playing descent, and with title update 18.3, that's actually made worse because XP has now been nerfed with the directive bug fix. If there was one thing that I found descent good for, it was XP. So yeah, that kind of really sucks. The problem is descent is a pretty big time investment, and players want to make sure they are getting rewarded for that time. When you have a mode like Countdown, which showers you with gear and only takes 10 to 15 minutes per run, it's no wonder players simply don't bother with descent and play Countdown instead. What descent does have that nothing else does in the game is the named blueprints. And now these drop from reconstructed caches. But guess what? You have to beat Nemesis to get one of those. And guess what? It only has a 12% chance of actually dropping. Next, we have lack of checkpoints. This for me still remains the biggest issue of them all. A huge portion of comments I see are from players who want to have a go at descent, but they simply don't have the 1 hour of uninterrupted time to complete it. Moving on, we have Nemesis difficulty. When you consider there are no checkpoints and rewards are not worth it unless you beat Nemesis and get the elusive reconstructed cache, making Nemesis incredibly difficult for most people just makes everything feel worse. Personally, I've been able to beat Nemesis every week since the season started, and that's not me boasting because I've definitely failed at Nemesis a few times recently, but I think most casual players, they're going to really struggle. We did have a small Nemesis damage nerf that I mentioned at the start of the video with TU 18.3 today, which I've yet to test, but 10% damage reduction is nothing when you consider Nemesis can shred 60% armor in less than 2 seconds. Those are probably the biggest issues, and there are more, of course. Group scaling, matchmaking, lore locked behind Nemesis, etc. But now I want to offer a couple of solutions that I think will make the experience better, and I think it will encourage players to actually give descent another chance. Let me know if you agree by liking the video down below. First off then, and quite obviously, rewards. Starting with XP, whatever deduction has been made to descent following the directives bug fixed in TU 18.3 needs to be added back. XP was actually pretty good, but this new bug fix has made it much worse, and now it's not worth even running for XP anymore. So yeah, just overall the experience in descent is just a lot worse following this latest update. Moving on, we have loot. I think the amount of caches rewarded needs to be at least 1.5 times, or if not doubled, what they are now. When you beat Nemesis as well, the reconstructed cache should be a guaranteed drop. This will encourage people to actually go ahead and try and beat Nemesis knowing they'd be guaranteed a named blueprint. Right now, you've got a 12% chance, so basically a 1 in 10, 1 in 9 chance, and no one is running through Nemesis for a 12% chance of a drop. If you've played Descent enough, you would have been able to get all of the buffs using your NSA tech, where you purchase them before you go into the Descent mode. But after that point, you still accumulate NSA tech, but you have nothing to use it on. We need a Descent vendor where you're able to use NSA tech to purchase caches, just like Countdown, and I would include the reconstructed cache in there as the highest prize. That way, if you can't beat Nemesis, but you've played through Descent mode many times, you will still have enough NSA tech to then be able to purchase a reconstructed cache and get that named blueprint. Checkpoints next, and they have to be included. I'd have a checkpoint at the end of every loop. The amount of people who simply won't play the mode because they have to commit to an uninterrupted amount of time is huge, and checkpoints would immediately fix that issue. We have checkpoints in the Summit because it's a huge time investment, so there's no reason why we should not have this in Descent 2. Of all the changes that I've mentioned in this video, this is the one I want Massive to focus on first. Moving on, and the Descent lore. This should not be tied behind beating Nemesis on a weekly basis, especially with Nemesis being so difficult for so many. The Descent lore is some of the best lore in the game right now, and I'm only expecting this to get better. Surely this should be available to everyone. The story of The Division, this has never been a huge draw for players, including myself, but Massive have already announced they are focusing more and more on the story, so why then would you hide it behind a fight many players will never actually win? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me at all. If it were me, I'd have a terminal available at the entrance of Descent where every week you can go and get a new audio log to download and listen to. In Destiny, for example, every week there is an update with lore, and all you've got to do is go to this area called Veil Containment, and you just listen to the audio log, and it tells you about the kind of next bit of lore. Having something like that in Descent would be ideal. These are, of course, just a couple of ideas that I think will vastly increase the replayability of Descent, and I guarantee you more people would play this mode with these ideas in place. One more thing that I wanted to add actually was group scaling. I'm actually really surprised Massive nerfed Nemesis in solo, but there was no mention of group scaling, which I think is actually the real issue with difficulty in Descent at the moment, especially in a group of 4. It's one of the main reasons I won't matchmake for Descent anymore, because I've matchmaked before, and if you're in a group of 2 it's okay, 3 it's pretty bad, but in a group of 4 it's so terrible. And if you're with people that have never played it before, yeah, you're not going to have fun time. Even in groups of 4 of people who are proficient at this game are still having a lot of problems. This definitely needs to be added to the list. And like I said, I'm surprised they've done solos, but they've not considered group scaling at this point. That's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know in the comments down below what you don't like about Descent and what you would add or change as well. I would really look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Until the next one, of course, epic out.